Soon. And there we are. There we are. Okay, let me calm my nerves because we were behind scenes in the green room having such a great conversation. But before we get started, welcome to yeah, welcome to What's in Disguise. I don't know how I almost got that wrong. I forgot what platform I was doing. It must be all that loaded gun coffee. Get yours,
Yeah,
people.
there
Get
you
yours.
go. Yeah.
They email it right to your front door. I never go anywhere without it. But nevertheless, I want to say something and acknowledge some special people in our communities
All
tonight.
right.
Ron Moorhead, Mark Ollie, Constance Victoria Briggs, Russell Easterbrooks, Mary Fabian, John Russell, Maximum Furick, William Muckler, Robert Dalton, Robin Starling, John Ventry. These are people that have offered so much to our communities and have worked. They're book authors. They're informative. They work in our groups and our communities, and they surround us every day. And I just wanted to put out a wholehearted thank you to them because they are ones that come into my platforms as well and allow me to share content, do shows with them, get introductions. They are truly rock stars and they are an inspiration to me. So thank you, every one of you. Now, with me tonight, everybody already knows who you are, but I'm going to introduce you anyway. And let me know if I pronounce your name wrong. But I know the first name is Nancy, and we'll say Thames.
Thames.
Thames. Oh, see, I was
Like the
thinking it
Thames
wrong.
River in England. Yeah. Yes, okay.
See, I'm not so perfect. All right, Nancy Thames, you have a fantastic story that started at the age of 2 years old, and I am going to have some questions. Some might be hard, but I don't think they're not meant to be hard. It's because of how intense your life has been with everything that you've dealt through. I don't want anything from me coming as off as in a wrongful, non-intellectual manner. Everything will be done through respect, and just because we want to have the need to know, because of the suppression of what need to know really stands for, and the big government, the big machine's name. So, where are you from first? Mississippi?
I grew up in Tennessee, but I now live in Mississippi. Yeah, but I've lived a lot of places. So, yeah,
Okay. My first question is then, do they follow you?
absolutely. I've lived in Hawaii. I've lived in Australia, New Zealand, Alabama, Georgia. It does not matter. They know where I am. They follow me. Absolutely. All my life.
Outstanding.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so we're going to get into this, and you're going to be the best one to be able to describe all the things that's happening and has happened. Once again, everybody, before we actually get right into this, which we will in just a half a minute, this is What's in Disguise. And I'm doing I guess I want to call it a contactee abduction. What may have started as an abduction, you can clarify how your feelings really surround that. Let's start at the age of 2. Your earliest memory, I believe you made mention. How did it all take place in that time of your earliest recollection?
Well, I've considered myself a contactee. I've never considered myself an abductee. Throughout my life, I never really knew that there was a difference or anything until I got up into my 20s and 30s. But it started for me. My first conscious memories that I recall is 2 to 3 years old. And as a toddler, it was a playful experience. It was fun. All my life, I've always had 3 grays, one being a female, and I am bonded with her. The other two, I don't interact with, and she's always the one that holds my hand, talks to me telepathically, and makes sure, I'm doing okay. As far as when I say okay, I mean like I'm having fun and I'm mentally okay with the situation. So when I was 2 or 3, they would come and she would take me by the hand, and then we would go up through the ceiling, through the roof, or through a window. And I really didn't think anything about it. I just went with them, and we would fly between my home and to craft. And in between, she would have me look down at cities, and sometimes they were locally like cities, but sometimes they were not cities that were probably here on Earth. They were other places. So throughout my life, they made it very much fun. Um, if if I was feeling a little not feeling good or a little anxiety or whatever, they could turn it around and make it fun for me. If I had memories or something in my mind about a book that my mother had read me, they can always change the scenery around you or uh, appear to you as a character in a book. They don't change into the character, but they can, in other words, what you would see the image they pull from your head, and then you would see that character, and then you find it all, it's just like fun and games. So that went on throughout my life until I got to about, say, junior high age. And then when I got that age and I was reading books, and throughout that time, whenever I would mention to my family about beings being in my room, they would say, "That's silly, go back to bed." And so they would always dismiss me and say, "Quit talking about that, that's silly." So then when I got around junior high and stuff, then if I brought it up, they would shut it down and say, "You cannot, talk about these silly dreams and stuff like this. You're just having dreams, and you cannot talk about this at school. You cannot talk about this to other family members. And you just got to just don't talk about it, because people will put you in a funny farm or whatever, in a mental place for having, if you talk about things like this." And they were like, people don't want to hear these kind of stories, and it's not funny. So, and I learned very quickly that these were not topics, not only in the household, but anywhere. So, and I guess they figured the more they shut it down within the household, the less likely I would be to branch outside of the house and start talking about some of these experiences or things that was going on in my life. So anyway, that made me become, because of being able to, we would go to bigger cities. I grew up in a small town, and around holidays and things, or on weekends, we would take family trips and go to bigger cities. And sometimes we would go to a bookstore, and I'd find myself looking for information. And living in the South, and we're considered the Bible Belt, you will not find very much information on these type things at all. So I was pretty much dealing with all this on my own. So my life went on, and I had experiences, and just I suppressed most things. And then when I got into my 20s and I got married, these things were still happening. And being in my 20s and getting married and becoming a mother and all these things started happening. And then, of course, I started having human experiences that were not so much fun. They were traumatic and things. And whenever these things would happen to me, they would always appear to me and say, "If this ever gets to be too much for you, you can always come home." And that did not resonate with me. I had not a clue what that meant, and I just brushed it off. But as I did get older in my 20s, and I realized then, and I did start finding books, I would go to bigger towns that had better bookstores, even in a different state sometimes, and I could find better bookstores. And so I started realizing that other people were having experiences, but they were not like my experiences. And so that made me scared, and it made me question what I was experiencing. Maybe I wasn't understanding what was happening. So, so as it continued, and it was just happening to me as far as I knew in my household. But as it continued, I began to ask them more questions. And, the more that I would hear about things or whatever, the more I wanted to know. And basically, we were on a family trip. We took the children to Key West to a Marriott hotel. It was the only one that had a beach right on the ocean there. And in the middle of the night, I woke up. I have the ability to sense their presence. even before they come into the room or wherever I am, I know that they're coming. So I felt this and I raised up and looked around, and there appeared three short grays. And these were different than the ones that come for me. The ones that come for me are about 4 or 5 foot, and they are the female, she is of a reddish brown color, and she's between somewhere around 4 to 5 foot. But these grays were 3 feet tall, very short, and they were definitely gray color. And they were wearing robes, and they had very high collars up around their necks. And when they realized that I was sitting up and aware of them, which I'm sure they already knew that, one approached me and pressed me down back to the bed and telepathically said, "This is not about you." And he put me, it was a male, he put me in a sleep paralysis, and I could not speak, I could not move. And then they proceeded to go over to the next bed, and I witnessed my two sons being taken consciously. I was awake, and I witnessed them being taken. And, that was the first time I had ever seen that. So that was the first of my knowledge. Whether it had happened before, I don't know. So I was very, very, very upset, very upset. Being a mom, it was one thing for this to happen to me, and I hadn't quite figured all this out and was having a hard time, but now it involved my children. So when I got back home, I made a circle around me for no particular reason. I just sat on the floor and I meditated, and I was trying to create a safe space around me. And I asked them for face to face, and I asked them for information to explain to me why this was happening. What does it mean? What is the purpose? And it didn't happen immediately, but I took myself to bed, went to sleep, and then later they did come. And my female gray with the other two grays came, and then she took me aboard craft and took me before what was called a group of elders. And these were a group of humanoids that were not humans. They were 7 to 8 feet tall, and there were many of them. I couldn't tell you how many, but there were many of them. And to me, they were of different races and like represented different aspects of whatever little council or grouping they were in. So I proceeded to ask them why this was happening to me and what did it mean, and all these questions that I could possibly think of. And they said that I had made an agreement before being born as a human being to be here at this particular time to help and assist humanity to understand their place in the universe, to understand that some of the extraterrestrials that they have been around, some of the humans have been around, were not here in their best interest, and we're not them, and that we were coming to a evolutionary change, reaching higher consciousness, and that they've been waiting for us, and that I was like being, I'm trying to think of the right word. I was being taught throughout my life, them coming and getting me, teaching me to prepare me for later in my life when all this unfolds. And they said as I got older, more things would become known to me, and I would have a better understanding, and they would be continuing to see me throughout my life. And this was right before 30, something like that, when I had two small children. So
Okay. Can I
yes.
I want to interject just a little bit. So we know right now what your experiences were were two races, um, both one of each different of who you knew, and now a secondary that were communicating to your children.
Mm-hmm.
So they were able to like know where you were through brainwaves, whatever. Have you ever noticed any like bumps on your skin or anything like that that was like some type of foreign material transmitter? Just as a possibility, as like a tracking device, because you were on vacation. I'm just, I think it's
Yeah.
important to know because we
Well,
know that Roger Lear found transmitting devices in some people that were alive.
Yes.
And I'm just as a curiosity, anything like that ever happened where you discuss things with your children that way?
I know a lot of times when the Grays would come to see me, seems like they were constantly looking at my ankles and were, they seemed to be, had interest in checking my feet and, my ankles. And
Hmm.
I later realized that on my right foot, on the inside of it, there is a, what you call it's like a little sinkhole indention, like looking spot. And at one time, I remember it being kind of a fresh looking
Wound or
spot.
bruise?
And I didn't know what in the world it was or where it came from. So for a period of time when I was younger, I think probably so, there was something in my ankle. Whether it's still there, I do not know. It didn't bother me, but I do know that a lot of times they would be interested in looking at my ankles, and I figured that was why. But I also know when I was younger and up until even 40s on up close to 50, the way that they would come and get me, I can't remember exactly when this stopped, but when they would come to get me, they would take a handheld scanner, and when they would take the scanner and go from head to toe, toe to head, head to toe, and after a little bit, I would start to feel my body elevate. And as it would elevate, then I would start looking around. And if I had my eyes closed, which I did in my teens and stuff, because I knew they were there, but I didn't want to look. So, but when I would raise up and look, I would look down and my bed was empty. So I knew this was physically happening to me. This wasn't an out of body experience. It wasn't a dream or anything like that. And I would look over and I'm holding the hands of the female Gray. So that was one of the things that I wanted to know, how in the world they were getting me up through the ceiling or through the door or through a window, because we are not able to do these type things. We live in a 3D world. So they explained to me when they were doing that, being in a 3D world, humans have a very low vibrational frequency. So they were changing my frequency to match their frequency. And when I got to their frequency, that's what made me start to elevate. And then that's when she would take me by the hand. By their true nature, they really don't like to walk like we do. They more or less float. They don't necessarily have to walk like we do. The density on Earth is not compatible to extraterrestrials or interdimensionals. So I also found out that my female Gray, she is a hybrid, and she was designed by the tall Grays and the interdimensionals and positive extraterrestrials to do the back and forth work. So when they created these hybrids, they made them specifically to be compatible with Earth.
So like the communicators for you.
Yeah, or escorts back and forth. Because
I want to ask you a couple of questions. This may sound off the wall, and this is where I said to you before the show, I don't want you to feel any pressure here, and that's not why I'm asking. So, a lot of times I thought, and I used to bring up on shows talking to people, experiencers, and just talking theory about how this all works. That we leave our body, spirit, and somehow go with them, because it doesn't make sense that we can, go right through material. To the point of their craft. I, in my mind, have put together a theory of these light beams take the gravity away, and that makes us weightlessness to float up. And I really do believe that's part of their technology on how we rise. But one of the things that always come to my mind, and I only know one other person. Do you know Jim Sparks?
I know the name. Yes, I don't personally know him.
One of the things is that I've only been able to get from certain people were the feeling of going through, meaning like the wall. the difference in texture in building materials, structures, and glass. Glass was more like a boop, like just exactly what you would think it would feel like. It's your body or your physics going through a material object, and it just felt like a big blob, you know. And in another case scenario, you can actually feel yourself going through materials. Did you ever experience that part? Not that they were harmful to you in any way, but did you
No,
feel
they're not harmful. What it is they're of a higher frequency than us.
right?
So when they changed my frequency, then I could do what they could do. So I would wake up sometimes, not wake up, I would look around. Sometimes I would keep my eyes closed because I was a little scared, or a lot scared. Let's be honest. I was very scared. But yeah, I've actually like been going up through a ceiling and then look and see myself going through the ceiling and seeing the insulation and being in the attic part, and then going on up and things. It, to be honest, I don't recall it feeling anything different. It just was pretty freaky that it was even happening. And I didn't understand it until later on. And they explained to me how they do that. And basically, the way that they travel and throughout the universe and come back and forth here is by using frequencies, and they can jump between dimensions and use vibrational frequencies to do these things that we don't understand here how to do these things. And we are going through an ascension here. And as we pass through our third 3D world and we're already progressing into the fourth, the fourth, these dimensions are not physical places. These are higher consciousness, higher awareness of our intellectual growth and what we and also activating our DNA, because we're very unique and have a lot of dormant qualities. A lot of people call it junk DNA, and it's simply not junk DNA. These are dormant because of a lot of reasons. A lot of people have worked together to keep us dumbed down. They never wanted to see us evolve into the human beings with these abilities and things that are ours. They're our abilities, but they've kept us dumbed down and kept them dormant. But so as we all evolve, these things will become more understood, and we'll see that there's things going on all around us. We simply can't see it now, but there's things all around us, dimensions, things going on. And as we become higher consciousness, our vision will widen and we will start to see things. But these things don't happen overnight. It happens gradually. And that's by intentional design. If everything happened just with a snap of a finger, it would not give the brain time to adapt and understand the changes of the world around you. So it's all created and done with intention to make it to where it happens. And it seems like something, by the time it's completely done, you'll think it's always been that way. You won't remember a time where you didn't see these things.
Right. That's really interesting because I always have assumed in my own research and just common sense, knowing that we have a unified matter that of intelligence that the earth is, where creation is within everything. It's a living organism of many many intelligences that seems to be part and sharing part with this other higher intelligence that they know how to work through, where
Yes.
we still don't, possibly,
Well,
maybe not. Are you aware of any involvement, or has anything been shared to you through them to give you knowledge that our government is actually possibly um, in touch with an extraterrestrial race, working with them?
I know that there has been some races that were here before the positive and the interdimensionals came in great numbers in their motherships and came within, and they're all around us now. And they're filling our planet Earth with surges of love and positive energies and frequencies. I know that the ones that were here before that did work with the government were one race of grays and one race of reptilians, and they do not have the best interest of humans or humanity. They are self-serving, and I call them negative because they only consider themselves. They could care less or have empathy for human beings. They were here to do what their task, which for the grays, the closest thing I can compare it to, because usually grays, there's many, many different races of different heights and different colors. And this one race is not part of the collective consciousness of all the interdimensionals and the positive extraterrestrials. They have been excommunicated because they overstep the boundaries on human beings. We are here on free will, and they are not supposed to cross these boundaries, but they did because they are selfish, self-centered, and only concerned with their task and their agenda, and could care less. So they did these, we'll say, genetic experiments. And so by doing that, they didn't think they were doing anything wrong. That's their task, and that's what they wanted to do. Whether or not human beings liked it, whether or not human beings understood it, whether or not it was properly understood, they didn't care. All they cared about was doing their task and serving their agenda. So I call them negative. They are not demonic. They all extraterrestrials have souls, and all extraterrestrials believe in a creator source. So they're not demonic. And there's so much misinformation about even reptilians. I have met positive reptilians. There's many, many different races. Every race of extraterrestrials, there's good and bad, but they're not demonic. One thing people don't realize is that as you evolve into higher evolution, all races go through this, and all races evolve. And as you evolve, you become a more positive being. You become a more positive being, and your meaningless ways of living, such as wars, such as greed, such as evil things, as you keep evolving, these things fall off, and they basically serve no evolved consciousness beings. It does not serve them. It is of no service to them, and they simply evolve past it. And that's what we can do. We are at a point where we can learn, and we can turn this into the positive aspects and go the positive routes, or we can take the technology and be misled by these wrong groups and possibly destroy ourselves and our planet. So that's why they are here. They are here to help us, because we are at this very stage in evolution. We are going through the biggest evolutionary stage that humans have ever gone through. And this is what they've been waiting on. So the others came here and took advantage of our lower consciousness and the fact that we have certain fractions of government and elites that were playing and manipulating us. So they traded off with these, I call, negative extraterrestrials, and they all work to keep humanity dumbed down. So they traded out for technology, and they've set on technology, and only the really elites are privy to these technologies. We should not have poverty. We should not be using fossil fuels. We should not have any diseases. Everything on this planet, when we were created, this whole planet, everything we ever needed was placed here. Everything on this planet is a living being. Our Earth is a living being, and she has whatever you want to call her, has a consciousness. All of our plants, our trees, our oceans, our rivers, everything are living beings, and they all have a consciousness. Now, plants don't have the same consciousness as human beings, but they do. They are living beings and they have a consciousness. So everything on this planet, and they taught me this, and they took me, got my son and I both to go to Mexico, and they took me to the forest and showed me all these things. And they took their hands out and said, everything is alive. Everything is alive. Everything is connected. Everything is connected. We are connected to everything. Everything is one. We are all one. We are all connected and we are all one. So whatever we do, technology-wise, weapon-wise, not only does it affect us, it affects our planet. It disturbs the balance of nature, disturbs the balance of our planet. And it also ripples out into the universe, because with the universe, we are one. We are one with the universe. We are connected to extraterrestrials. We are all one. And our evolution and awakening is important to them because we are all one. So if we don't do the right things, it affects everything and everyone. So it is at their most best interest to assist and watch us and hope that we do. They, the good and positive ones, will not overstep the cosmic law of free will. So we make a mistake, we have to fix it. They cannot come down here and fix everything for us. We were given intelligence and we are going through our ascension and we are evolving to higher consciousness. So we have to use our intelligence and make right decisions, make right choices. And they are here simply to assist, not fix, not control, not take over. We are like children to them. So they treat us just like we treat our own children when they make a mistake. They have to suffer the consequence and they have to learn from their mistakes in order to grow. And that's what we have to do here on earth. It is a school and we are learning every day. And this is a human experience of learning. And we are at a point that no other human has ever gone through. It's a beautiful time to be alive. And we are very fortunate that we have brothers and sisters who are our cosmic family. And we are now waking up and realizing not only that we all have some extraterrestrial DNA within us, but they are also part of us. We are all connected. They are our family.
Interesting. And I thank you for that because it was very detailed. It covers some of my questions that I wanted to bring up. No, it's perfectly fine. It's not always about me. It's really about you and what you can share to enlighten us. And you're doing just
And
that.
see, for me, it's not about me. It's about me telling you about them and their purpose for being here and why now, and about the ones here before are not the ones that are here now. When they came around us and surrounded us, they told the negatives to leave humanity alone. And if you look and do your research, you'll see there is no recent abductions. You know, all these things you read about are from the past. And that's because they weren't here to stop them, because they can't interfere. They cannot interfere.
Yeah. So then I would assume that some of the people that are expressing that they have had a situation as an abduction recently would or may not be exactly being truthful with us. Because I got two stories in the last couple weeks with last month.
They're saying it happened just recently.
Yeah. Yeah, they'd like to come on and share their story about what they experienced. And again, they're just people. I don't know who they are. They have a story. We learn about who people are.
This is the way I look at that. I walk in my own shoes. I know my experiences. I know what they have told me. I do also know that people have had experiences. And I do know it's not my place to say whether someone is telling the truth or not. I was not there. How do I know? I don't know. So it's not my place. But I do know that a lot of times, even with the so-called negative extraterrestrials, a lot of times they were not doing anything mean, vicious, or ugly. They were simply doing their job, but it was misinterpreted as being, because you have to understand, when we see these entities, beings, these are not things that are familiar in our mind. So it goes all the way back to when we were in the cave days. Everything around us was a predator. And when we see something that our brain sees something that we cannot understand, we get that flight or fight.
Yeah.
Clicks off. So immediately, without even knowing what's going to occur, you automatically see it as a scary predator. So, and it's just like back in the old days in Bible times, they thought that some of these extraterrestrials were gods or angels and things of this nature. It's because some people just simply don't understand, and it gets misinterpreted. And the negatives didn't do anything for the ones that thought that to try to change it. The only thing that I do know that they will do, or a lot of them do, is, for several reasons they do this, but they will tap you on the forehead and they will put you in a functional, sedated state without any drug. It's just like they touch you and you'll become just kind of like a walking, functional, non-emotional. It takes away all the fear, all the anxiety, and you go through the whole experience. And you're easier for them to get to do their task. It makes it easier for them because you're not all over the place and fighting them and all this kind of stuff. It's a safer way of doing their exam or their contact with you, whatever their reason. And then it puts you at a more, just a level of, when you come back, your memories are fragmented. They're not a full conscious memory because you're like in a trance. So you're kind of, you have fragmented memories. But there again, with that confusion, that creates a lot of things in your mind about what occurred.
Right. Well, you're getting like a brain jolt, a conscious download in some ways, telepathic communications.
Yes,
You're hearing things, what we call, voices in your head, so to speak, and whatnot. That would be a lot to take in. And
it
the
is.
frequency would probably change upon leaving, where you're coming back down to a different level and you're
Yeah.
having skips in time of what just possibly occurred, is how I
And
kind of look at it.
yes.
I do want to ask you something else, though.
Okay.
Because we know that there's negative impacts that have taken place. There's possibly technologies, and I'm not trying to go to the whole ufology end of this in a deep manner, but did they ever say that we are actually it's us actually in these crafts, and that we are space travelers now? Have we made it to that type of scenario? Was anything like that shared to you, that possibly we are on the moon? There are structures on Mars, same thing. Because we know, we look at advancement, whether it's in good and bad ways. Some things have happened, some things have been shared. We don't know all the truths, probably never will. So through the periods of time that you have had these teachers teaching you and guiding you and sharing the informations, were you able to conclusively say that we are actually space traveling and we are much further ahead due to the help of others and their interactions with us, with humanity here, and the machine, so to speak, side of it?
What I've come to understand from what they have shared with me, and about a little over a year ago, they gave me a Kundalini awakening. And when that happened, it scared me to death. I didn't know what it was, but I experienced it. And then later they explained to me, yes, that's what that was. And basically they were opening up my subconscious into my human consciousness. And throughout all this, anyway, I had already figured out that through them that I was an extraterrestrial before I came here. I was an interdimensional before I came here. And so were my children. We were interdimensionals, and we're all here doing different things, but we're here for a purpose. And it is for the purpose to assist and help humanity understand things. But nobody has ever told me. There's a lot of things I know, but I don't release it into my human consciousness because it's so important that I enjoy my experience as a human being here. So I have to be real careful. And they are constantly, every time they come for me, there is always a group of peers watching, evaluating. And I guess they're deciding how much information I can handle, because my experience here is far from over, and I'm a grandmother, I'm a mother, and those things are just as important as my extraterrestrial mission in, that. But I do know that when I leave this planet, I have family up there waiting for me. And I know that I purposely, when I'm there, a lot of them I will not make eye contact with, because I know what's going to happen. All this is going to flood in. And I'm afraid that it's too soon for me to be making those kind of decisions about where I want to be, what family this, what family that, because I love my children, my grandchildren, and I love them so much. But anyway, to answer your question, there's my son and I talk about these things a lot, and I know that the interdimensionals are human-like, but they are not human. And I know that we are connected. We are very connected. How strong that connection is, like if they are us in the future or whatever, right now I can't answer you that question. I probably do know the answer to that, but in my human conscious, I'm not there yet. But I do know, and my son and I talk about this. A lot of times it seems like I'm there just as much as I am here. Like, it's like sometimes he and I both, we talk about this. We have lives going on in two different places. And we've also talked about the fact that I'm 63 years old, and that seems like a lot of years. Okay. That seems like a whole lot of years. But from what I've learned about their technology, which they don't even use the word technology, our physics, our sciences don't apply to them. They are billions of years ahead of us. And there is no such thing as time. There is no such thing as currency. There are no diseases. There are no wars, et cetera, et cetera. And sometimes, he and I are just sitting around chit-chatting and talking, and we're like, maybe this is just like a dream up from up there. Maybe this is like an hour, to our extraterrestrial selves. And maybe this is just like, to us, it seems like 63 years, but maybe, there's a lot I don't know. And I'll be the first to tell you what we're looking at here. And this is what the government's looking at. We're looking at technology that we have no understanding of. Absolutely no understanding. It is billions of years ahead of us in every way. And because of agreements, soul agreements, and earthly agreements, there are certain things they cannot overstep and do, for us, because us evolving and going through our ascensions is part of our spiritual and evolutionary growth. And they've done this a long time ago, and they've seen many other beings throughout our galaxy, throughout our universe, and many other galaxies and universes do the same things. So I think probably, now I don't know this for a fact, so let's make that clear. But I feel sure that these positive and these interdimensionals go around to different areas looking for beings coming into their evolutionary stage, and they're helping every civilization they come across to become galactic beings and ascend and be positive aspects of the galactic realm. And we are invited to be a part of the galactic realm. And now it's up to us. It's up to humanity. So that's why I'm nothing special. There is probably 1 million people here on Earth that all incarnated here for this very reason. Every race.
That was another question I was going to ask you, if you had any idea of an amount, a number of how many are here being contacted.
Well, I know that there's probably 1 million people here that have incarnated. Every race that is positive and is pouring love around our planet all incarnates here. So I'm talking about, we're not all from one race. We're all many different extraterrestrial and interdimensional beings that are all, we're all one. We are all one, and we are all connected. So all of them are here, surrounding us with love and hoping and sending all these energy waves around us and stuff, waiting for us to reach our collective consciousness, where we are awake and understand all these things around us. And these things don't happen overnight, but it is happening, and it is happening, and it will continue to happen, and it will happen. I think that it will happen. There's no question in my mind. It's going to happen, but I can't tell you how long. I can't tell you what things will happen between now and the time that it's all said and done. I don't know, because being human beings and all of us being here on free will, there's so many variables, and they have no control over the variables. That's really kind of in our hands. So I know everyone that's here that's like me, like now, if I did have an implant in my ankle, I don't have it any longer, or either it's deactivated, because they have me vibrating at a high frequency. So what I'm saying is that I have become my consciousness has opened up, and a lot of information has been revealed to me through my subconscious. And I've never even had a regression or hypnotic session. Never. They did this. They did the Kundalini on me. This was what they did. I probably might go get one, because I want to know things. I want to know more. If my subconscious knows more, I want to know more. I am ready to know. I can handle it now. So, and I tell them that every night. I'm ready. There's nothing that's going to send me to the loony farm. I'm ready to know everything. So, in due time I will, I'm sure, but they know the best course for these things. And that's why they're very patient. With humanity, they're going to be very patient, that we are not going to be forced into anything. If this is a worldwide phenomenon, and this is not just about one or two countries decide, okay, we're signing up, we're with you. It doesn't work that way. Yeah. This is a universal thing. So it's a worldwide thing. So as a collective consciousness, we all have to reach our higher consciousness and become a higher frequency, and it will make us all vibrate at higher frequencies. And the beautiful thing is that everybody that's here like me, we are already at a higher frequency, and we know how to raise our frequency and what makes it go up. And we know all of us have been around people long enough to see that when we are vibrating at a high frequency, it's almost like it's contagious. The people around us pick up on it, and they want to have that wonderful feeling. They want to be positive. They want to have that energy. And that's the way I see it's going to happen with humanity, as we all wake up and become better humans, better positive ideas, and realize that these negative ways, wars, negative information on TV, pharmaceutical companies giving us synthetic drugs that our bodies can't even metabolize, because everything we ever needed was put here on earth to keep us healthy and sound. So once we realize all these things and we raise our consciousness, we will all reach that level to where they will be down here with us face to face, and they will not be controlling us.
Right, right. And we are in that part of a scenario that we are all experiencing right now. It just seems so far off. And what we need to hope for is if something um, by look, there's just not good people in the world. And I don't want to take this into a political content show because it's not, but the
Yeah.
awareness is important that it all comes down to one man's decision when he has his finger on the red button of what it can do and what he can control. We're living that every day. Would they ever interject or intercede, did your gut tell you, a gut instinct tell you of everything you learned, that if something in likes of that were to ever happen, that they would then interject?
I know that they've already been doing that. They've already gone around and showed governments,
Yeah,
by turning off nuclear power plants.
yeah,
They've already let them know.
right. But it doesn't seem to fear them. But I mean, we're at other levels where it seems that now. With that said, and you're absolutely correct. Thanks for bringing that up. But it's true. But they're using other and newer objectives in a way to get around some of that scenario of how other events are being controlled and blaming it upon one thing versus another. Yet we know that they're in our upper atmosphere or side by side with us, and we're not available to know in the frequencies we're in to know that they're even standing closest to us. Is it like a guardian angel perspective, maybe? But they are somehow, some way trying to get through to all of us and using people like you to do it and others to spread the word of it.
They're reaching out to humanity. They've tried in the past to work with governments and stuff, but they chose weapons of mass destruction and technology. They weren't willing to walk away from it in the past.
Right.
So they hung around here for a lot of years and it didn't change, and they left. And so, but now humanity is waking up. They are reaching out to humanity because we're at a point where people are realizing these old ways of living, our banking systems are breaking down. There's so many things in government that are breaking down. Our technology is becoming so advanced that it's becoming disruptive, So we need guidance. And technology, if used in the right way, can be beautiful, but it needs to be for all of humanity, not just elites, not just for a few. If we use these things in the right way, we will have no poverty. We will no longer need pharmaceutical companies. We will no longer be using our fossil fuels. We'll be using the things that have always been here, but they cannot make money off of intelligent, healthy human beings. So they want to keep us sickly and work to death. And by the time we get to retirement, we're unhealthy, or we don't get to enjoy our lives. And we're a slave to a system that no longer serves us. So once we realize all these things, humanity will start to make different decisions, and be more of humanity, hopefully will be more proactive in what happens around us in our world, and start wanting to be better, because this is not just about us. We're looking at the future of our grandchildren's children, other generations, and we could go down in history books as being the generation that made a change. I mean, we are the disclosure, all of us in humanity waking up. We are going to be the disclosure. We are the disclosure. We don't need a government. We can look around us and see and wake up and realize we are the change. We are the ones that the world has been waiting on to make these changes. And it won't happen overnight, but we have to start now. And
Yeah.
they are here. The interdimensionals and positives are here. And they've told the negatives to leave us alone. Some of them are not leaving us alone. That's how we ended up with this war in the Middle East, because their whole thing for eons has been to keep humanity separated. We are supposed to be one. When we are one, there is no stopping us. We are powerful, but
Yeah.
they've always kept us separated with different religions, racism. All these things were done intentionally to humanity to keep us in tension, in fear, and in apart, to keep us apart and untrustful of one another. So all these things all our lives, and it's not our fault. This is the way we were raised. This is the way our parents before us and before them. This has been going on for eons, and this is what they've got us to. But now it is all breaking down, and we have to be intelligent enough to see it's time for the change. It's time for us to take
And
control.
that's the big secret. What you're explaining is the big secret.
Yes, and they don't want us to know this.
And how to get to. Well, I think a lot of my crew that come in, listen to my shows, understand it, because you're hitting so many things that I've been discussing for years with them and them to
Yes.
me. I mean, these people that come in a lot of ways, and hats off to them. They know their business. They know it. So I'm
Yeah.
sure they have nothing but 100% in trust in your words and what you have experienced. Now, this Galactic Federation, air quotes, I'm not saying it doesn't exist. I do believe that there is something going on that is above all of us to understand in ways. You said you've seen a room full of different people. Could you put
They
a
were-
number, a
they were
number of
told-
how many different
There was
species
a lot, and they were like it was a
everywhere?
lot. I was like in the middle, and they were all around me, and they were called elders. And I would
Right.
the closest thing, elder of councils. It's like a council of elders. I never hear the word galactic or any of those things, but I do know that they have representatives, and they would be representatives for, say, each race, or things of that nature, or even dimensions, or however that works. I don't really know all the politics involved. It does it for me. I'm still learning to keep the human side going, and realizing who I am as a contactee and all
Right.
these things. So I don't really ask a lot of that kind of stuff now. What I'd really like to know, and this sounds silly, is, what did I do before I came here? Like, what was my function, or what
Yeah.
race, or whatever. And that may seem silly, and I'm sure, and I've not asked them these things because I have so much love and respect for them. And every time I ask them something, they say, "You already know, look within." So I try to do that. I try to meditate and ask my higher conscious, my subconscious, to give me more information, because they're telling me constantly. And I truly believe we all know a lot in our subconscious. We know a lot. And I think if we all look within, figure out who our soul self is, not not me, like the Nancy that the world around me has made, but the inner Nancy, the one that came here for a reason. We're all here for a purpose, all of us. And if we go within and find our true self and ask our subconscious to open up and show us pure enlightenment, pure energy, pure love, pure information, and help us to make the right decisions and the right guidance, I think it will work. From what they've trained me and taught me, it works. It truly does.
Understood.
And I think it's about us figuring out who we are in our place in the universe. We have a place. We have a place.
Okay. Thank you for sharing that part of it. Okay, I'm going to take you down a hard road for a minute.
Okay.
Because it comes up a lot.
Okay.
Maybe in your case never has, but just, a question I think of importance. they've had you there. Uh, uh, how are they? I know some of these answers, but I want to say it in a way to where we can better influence, and you are able to teach on the information that you became aware of, or what exactly went on while you were with them. But I want to ask you a couple of very simple questions. I'll start with the easy one, I think. What is it like inside one of these crafts?
Well, what's really strange is the ones that I've seen are very metal, silver, shining. They would reflect moonlight or reflect sunlight. I've seen some during the day, and of course at night. And so as you approach the craft, it would look about the size of half of a football field. Okay, but when you get to craft and you walk in, it all changes. It is 10 times bigger than what it looked like, or even more than that. It's so much bigger than what it looked like on the outside. What you see on the outside and then what you walk into, it all changes, and it's just unbelievable, unbelievably big.
One of the oldest stories out there was from Clifford Stone that also said those exact same words. He says, I went into a small craft that didn't seem to be any bigger than this diameter by this diameter. We're talking about something the size of a room. And when
Yeah,
he got in there, he said it was like, wow, where did this come from? And he was
right.
someone on the high in the military,
Hmm.
an intelligence type officer who was a communicator, somewhat
Yeah,
like you are, that was used in crash retrievals and other things. So I think that was a matter of importance that I asked you that
yeah.
way.
And
I also,
also, to me, everything was bright, very bright. But if you look around, it like for the light source, you know how we have a light source, the
right.
ceiling, or you'll never find the source of where the light's coming from. It's just there, and it's perfect. And people ask me, is it hot or cold? It's perfect. I don't remember being hot or cold. It's just everything is bright, and to me, everything looked white. Everything looked white. You
Okay.
know, all of the things looked white, um, and it was it's not decorated or anything like that. It just looks very sterile, very clean, very bright, and very white. And
Sterile. Okay, maybe they have OCD and they clean a lot because they're bored in their travels. And I'm not going down that
it's
rabbit
so
hole,
weird.
to be stupid. I'm saying it because I want to take you somewhere else. And I believe at one point you have shared to the public. That's the best way to say it, but to enlighten everybody listening or who may not know who you are. And I really want them to know who this magnificent person is with me here tonight, Nancy. So, I believe at one point you did talk about having the ability to heal and that they have helped you. But I also want to go a step above that because of what we do here, whether one looks at it as being abducted or being as a contactee or having a purpose for them in the hybriding scenario. So did you personally, or can you recollect at any point in time that you may have been used and part of this hybriding or anything like that? I don't want to like actually hit you over the head with the
Oh no, I don't
question, but
mind. I don't mind.
I think it's
I used
important
to
to ask.
wonder. I used to wonder about those things because I would. That's all the stories I would hear. But I went through menopause in my 40s. They would have dumped me immediately because I'm 63 and I still have face to face contact with them. And my relationship with them is of a higher purpose. It is about me being who I am today, and talking to humanity. This is what they've always wanted me to do. And so this was just getting my consciousness and my intellect up and ready, and an understanding of who I am, because it's not easy. This has not been easy. I mean, I've had lots of struggles. I've had a lot of failed relationships, 2 divorces. I've had good things happen, bad things happen. And, this is not an easy path. A lot of people say, oh, I'd love to trade places with you. Right now,
Mhm.
I love it. It's wonderful. And I understand who I am. I know who I am. I know who I am within, not just the Nancy on the outside, but the Nancy on the inside. And I know where I came from and I know where I'm going. But 15 years ago, oh, I don't, I wasn't so happy with being me. Yeah.
I could understand that because we're
Yeah.
ridiculed in this world. And like you said, until consciousness gets to a better place
Yep.
and we evolve into a better place where we're unified together,
Yeah.
there's always going to be this type of subject matter that's going to come across the board and we will be opinionated against and more so. And that's sad. It is sad. But, there's a lot of work ahead of us, is what that tells me, and probably says to you. In that way.
Absolutely.
So please explain a little bit more, because that's negative, and negative is important, but at the same time, how did they help you in healing?
In healing. Well, for a long time, like I said, I didn't understand any of this, and I was a very confused individual. So through the patients, they helped me to understand. And I just a lot of soul searching. They, would always say, look within. So I started meditating and just, and a lot of times in my dream states, they're with me and make me walk through different scenarios and learn different things. But I've never went to church and never really, I have been to church, but I was not, and I was a member of a church at one time, but I was never a really big time church person. But I've always felt that I could have church anywhere.
Sure.
I grew up in a family that we traveled to every single state and national park. I've been to every state in the United States except for Alaska. And, if we wanted to have a prayer at the picnic table, that was considered just as good as anything anybody else was doing in my family and in our eyes. So, but I have become a more spiritual person in the fact that I understand our connection with our planet. I could understand our connection with everything on the planet. And now I understand our connection with the universe. And it just everything makes sense now, and all everything has meaning. And I understand what being a human is all about. And I understand that when we leave this earth, our soul and our consciousness move on. And, it's not over for us. And to me, that was a beautiful thing. I used to be scared of dying for so long. And, so I don't know. It's changed me in so many ways. I would not know where to begin. And yes, they have, whenever I'm with them, they're constantly checking my well-being, and they've actually fixed things about me. And it's, I could try to explain one way that one of the last times that I recall them coming to fix kidney problems with me, and it was very strange. But I'll explain it if you like.
Well, let's answer one question that came up
Okay.
from Joe Fox, and I think in a way you may have already talked about this. And I think for me, my answer to it would be, if I'm sharing, is, do we have the capability to manifest a sighting? And I don't know, but he brings up something that may be a little bit factual, because I went through an experience, actually a couple experiences, where they showed themselves to me because I was looking for it. So I'll
Yeah.
just say it like that. What's your feeling on it?
As we raise our consciousness and our frequency, they are not hiding from us. They are up there. They're all around us. And it's because we're in a 3D world that we don't always see it. But as we become more open and the more that we are aware, and if we have the right reasons at heart, my advice is to meditate with positive thoughts, meditate for positive interactions. There are a lot of spirit beings on this planet, and they are not extraterrestrials. And a lot of times, if they were a trickster or a jokester as a human, they will be in the spirit world too. So you have to be careful what you ask for, because
Right.
you need to be clear and say, I want positive extraterrestrials. I want positive interaction with extraterrestrials. Please let me know that you're there. My heart goes out to you, and I want to know that you're around us. And
Right.
if you're doing it in the pure and proper ways, but see, if you go to a C5, not everybody there may not be there for the same agenda or the same reason you're there. And it only takes one person or a couple of people to have the wrong attitudes, and then nobody will get to experience anything. So I think it's about your attitude, and the frequency you put out will be the frequency that you get back.
Yeah.
If you're positive and want good things, that they will appear. If you're out there making a joke about it, or like not really wanting to be there, but putting on a show that you're there, they're going to know that. They know everything, you know.
You know,
They know
something else,
everything.
something else that you shared, and thank you for your answering that. So it's like the good, bad, and ugly is all around us, and we just need
Yeah.
to figure out how to interject ourselves to get to these better levels, and a lot of other people to jump on. I call it a collecting and gathering, and I do. That's why I think I do many shows. It's because I'm just trying to figure out how to reach more people in better ways and to influence them into the same manner of what you're speaking. I've done nothing more than that, and that's why even tonight at the beginning of the show, I wanted to thank people who have gave me influence. They have put positive, interjected positivity into me to want to do more, to reach further. And you know, you've had things come in front of your plate. We were discussing this in the green room. You know, there's purpose for what we do, and people come in all ways. Entities come in all ways. Deities come in all ways, and
Yeah.
it seems that even from up above. And so we're trapped between all the good, bad, and ugly. But we need to focus strength the best way we can to get through to the next day. And I think even if it's under the worst case scenario, as long as we teach ourselves a way to defeat and utilize whatever it is being utilized against us, that we can conquer all. And I think just to share to people that kind of type of thought, mindset of thought, is positive. How do you feel? I mean, am I wrong?
Absolutely. And what I do, or how I start off, or, you know, and I'm human. I'm going to have negative thoughts. Everybody's going to have negative thoughts. Okay. But what you do is, when you have a negative thought, replace it by two thoughts, and you start replacing it. But then it becomes just like, you just do it. It becomes part of who you are. But it's just like when you're sitting here on your show and you're telling these people, thanking them for being a part of your family of, you know, your communication and your podcast family. That's positive energy that they put in positive energy. You're putting back positive energy. Everybody listening is going to react to that positive energy and go, wow, that's really cool. I want to be a part of that.
Yeah.
It attracts. It's just like a little coal that spreads. This positive energy spreads, and you'll see it grows. It grows. And then when they leave, they'll be talking about your podcast, good positive energy. And they're like, well, I want to check that out. And it just, that's how it works and spreads to humanity. So that's why I say we are all disclosure. We are all part of this. And we're all doing our part by talking about it, spreading it, utilizing and trying to be better, you know, use better positive thoughts, whatever. It's all a start, and it will increase all around us.
Yeah, it's kind of like the law of attraction makes more
Yes.
sense when you hear it that way. Now, we have a very interesting question, and I want to try to answer this. And you're more of an expert. Look, none of us are
I'm not an
experts. We're all
expert.
no, I know we're all learning, but I think you have a little bit more knowledge here. But how do we know what is the frequency? My theory of thought is the best feeling you ever had in your life that you lose. because you're being dumbed down because you were being dumbed down. It's like going on the
Mhm.
roller coaster and you feel those butterflies in your stomach for the first time. It scares you to death, but you love the feeling and the intensity, and you want to get off the ride, run back in a big circle, get right back in line, and feel it again. It's
Yeah,
almost level like a love cycle in my
yeah,
mind, also,
that's a
where
good way of putting
you
it.
get
Yes,
that feeling where you can't eat, you can't sleep, you're in love, you don't know what to do about it, you don't know whether to tell the other person. That is when you reach the frequency. That's the
yes.
best I can tell you
Mhm.
from my side of it. When you can live life like that, you're living the dream.
The higher the frequency, the better you feel, and it radiates around you, and other people are drawn to you, and other people want to experience that, and it feels wonderful. So, and us on a norm, we are at a low frequency. I put in something in my group today, and I think it said, I could be wrong about this, that a normal human is around 100 megahertz frequency, I think. But so it starts off low, but as we become more positive and as we reach higher consciousness, it raises. It becomes higher. Yeah.
Yeah. It's I was saying thank you to
Yeah.
something
Yeah. I
that I
know
was
what you're doing.
observing there. So I got to ask you something else, because we're in this frequency mode and we hear about mathematical numbers and the F
Mhm.
sharp and things like that. Is music important for us?
I think so. And I think that I know, I don't remember what year it was, but all music was at a wondrous frequency and they purposely changed it. So, there again, for eons, they have purposely changed everything to keep us dumbed down.
Right. It always
Even
goes
if you
back.
take a glass of water and apply frequency to it, it will change its molecular structure and become these beautiful things. So that's what happens to us as we become, we're like the butterfly or the caterpillar in the cocoon trying to come out and become the butterfly. And that's what frequency is. It starts off and it becomes this beautiful, magnificent thing.
Yeah. All right. So tune in to more music. Tune in to what makes life
But
work for
you
you.
have to, if you'll notice on YouTube, they'll have like certain things you can listen to that are healing frequencies or positive frequencies. There's different frequencies. So if you just do a little research, there's a lot of information on it. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's
It's
not
pretty
hidden.
extensive.
It's out there. You just got to go look for it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty extensive. You know, what I find in another way works for me is just what puts me in the groove. Because there's times I can go to work and whatnot, and you're just having like a regular day, but then you suddenly hear a frequency of sound of a song, and it brings back a memory, and it's a good memory, and then the influences start to bubble. At the end of the day, most of the time, I don't want to really put down the tools. That's when I'm at my peak. At the end of the
Mhm.
day, I could get motivated for a few more hours. But it's the time clock thing, the family thing, or whatever the other activities in life demand of you. But because you're reaching, that's points of that elevated frequency for me.
Yeah.
And I'm sure if you ever were doing something, anybody listening out there that was doing something, and you almost felt like I could just keep going, that is when you are reaching the source. That
Yep.
that that ether, that
Mhm.
everything on this planet that matters of the frequencies that unify
Yeah.
everything together as the oneness of this world. And
Right,
that's why
because we're all connected and we're all one. And when that's
I do
all
believe that.
together, it's amazing because everything works together. Yeah.
Yeah, there was a historical event that happened. I think it was called the Tower of Babylon. I talked to Mark about this a little bit the other day. Fantastic interview, and he gave me one of the greatest compliments a guy could give a guy, and I thank him for that. I was just trying to share with him the way he shared with me, not doing anything any extra. But when that occurred, it seemed like there was an intervention of something that just had to come destroy it. And at that moment in time, it exactly circles back the way everything you keep bringing up on it. And I know you say it because it's such a strong point of truth. As when that destruction came, also a separation of man came, and it would divide, and then separation. And
Languages.
and languages changed and communication stopped.
Land separated.
Exactly. Everything had occurred to further us apart from each other, to slow us down, not to stay caught up to the actual fundamental understandings of where we are and what was really going on in the world.
Exactly.
And so that was part, I think, right there for me. That
It's a
was the
wake up.
most important biblical moment in time where
Mhm.
this all exploded back at us to start this event.
Exactly. It's been for eons to keep us separated, because when we all come together and come to this collective consciousness that we are all one and come together, there is no stopping us. We are very unique. We're very, very unique, and
Yeah,
have so much in our DNA that has never even been activated, but it's going to start occurring.
I
And
can't
I'm
wait.
not talking about just for a few, I'm talking about all of humanity. This is
Right.
going to help us all. This is all.
Yeah. And I think if we all work together and stay together, that'll happen. Definitely. I want to reflect back on something that I find very, very amazing. And I wish I could be with you in your moments when they allow you to do this. When you can travel amongst them with them through the stars and here on this planet. What was those visual lights seen? Were these cities more of magnificence than what you see here in comparison? What were you experiencing in those moments from a visuals perspective? Perspective, excuse me.
Beautiful colors, crystal looking like structures. They've always told me, I've always had a fascination with crystals and rocks, even fossils, everything. And I always sleep with fossils and rocks and all these things close to me. I think they're living, they have energy and they have a frequency, and we're all connected to those things too. So they've always told me these things, and they've always told me about herbs. And from a very young age, I was taking all these supplements and things even before all these other people were, and everybody thought I was nuts because I was just taking this for this, this for that, and I had like my herbal Bible and all this stuff, and that was all part orchestrated by the extraterrestrials, the interdimensionals, wanting me to pay attention to what I eat and what, because it is important. I don't always follow all the things I know, but I do know that in their world, they do not eat like we do. They don't, for us, eating is an indulgence. It's it's a fun thing. For them, they don't look at it as like we do. It is a purely for your body's maintenance. They look at it as a nutrient, and they only eat a couple times a week. They don't eat 3 meals a day like we do. They do not sleep like we do. They don't have to have as much sleep as we do. So, we're very different, but all of it is because of our upbringing,
Right.
a lot of it.
Have you learned anything about the crop circles?
I think I've never just directly asked, but I know just from looking at them, that's a way of communicating, and it's a way of, they've left us so many things, there's so many things in writings on cave walls, all these things, the Nazca lines, all these things. They've never withheld information from us. It's our government.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not just talking about our governments now. I'm talking way back, way back. It started way, way back, keeping us isolated from information and not knowing our true heritage, not knowing things about our planet. There's so much about our planet that we don't even know. Our oceans, we don't even know. And there's so much under our information under the oceans,
USA.
So, yeah, there's a lot of things that we just don't know. And there's a lot of things that they know, but they keep it from us. And I don't understand why. But I do understand why. They don't want us to know our cosmic connection.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm not pointing in any fingers in any direction, but the Vatican supports us knowing, according to a public release that came from them. And there are some other documentations and other whistleblowers who come out that also point the fingers to that exact fact. And then there's some, where Lou Alessandro had a military person of high rank come up to him and told him basically it's most of what we know that we are experiencing and with and whom are probably the bad ones that you talked about. And he called them, they are the demon ones. He publicly said that was part of his shared information that he experienced from somebody much higher than of his position that he held. So we kind of understand, and there is a separate force even up there like we have down here. It seems like it's a way of the universe. And back in the day too, like before Roswell and so forth, when they started to play with all these sonic explosions and so atom bombs and testings of that, seemed to open up what I believe, and this isn't my theory, but I agree with other people that thought this through, that the possibility that they opened something up, the same as what they're trying to do with CERN in CERN, Switzerland, they opened up some type of something. And these explosions, even though they seemed harmless, although quite catastrophic, and we've seen what happened when they were used, at least on one occasion. Again, trying to stay away from the politics end of it, but my research goes into so many different directions. It's like a spider web of, and as an encyclopedist of the Britannica.
It's like you open the can of worms and it just keeps going and going.
Yeah, I know. I apologize for that.
Yeah.
I happen to go into those places and I don't want to, but what's your thought on that? Because as you're saying, the truth has always been within, around us. It's been set forth. It's, in ancient times, it's in ancient carvings and petroglyphs and paintings and through the indigenous people, their beliefs, people from the stars. Some people talk the Anunnaki, the ones from the skies. Well, there was probably many that came from the skies, as you said, who had something to do with seeding this planet. And here we are blowing up materials and that are affecting the planetary system of this Earth and probably going out and traveling beyond it.
Yeah. The unfortunate part is that a lot of indigenous people had the right idea in the fact that they were at one with nature and with Creator. A lot of what they had was correct, and we seem in our Western world, whatever you want to call us, we seem to have lost our connections. We think that we are the dominary, that we're over everything, and we have forgot our connections with everything, and it has is becoming our downfall. So that's I don't know. And as far as like the CERN and all those kind of things, I know about all these things, but I don't know. I know that when we started playing with these technologies and blowing up bonds out in the deserts and places, that brought a lot of attention to our planet, and that brought a lot of them down here. And that's about when the what I call negative, and I don't know that I should even call them negative, because that can be so translated into so many different things. They're just self-serving and only care about them and have no empathy for any other race but their own. But that kind of like opened the door up to us. They saw, well, we have some technology. They saw that, we would probably be interested in trade outs and things like that. So that's how we ended up probably with the negative, because we were not. And then I know at one time some positives tried to talk with governments, and they would not give up weapons, nuclear weapons and things of this. That's all they asked was that we give up that kind of thing, and they would have solved our energy problem, solved our climate problem, solved our health problems. And but they, at that time, I think we had just finished World War II or something, and governments weren't ready. And it wasn't just our government; it was several governments didn't want to do
Yeah,
it.
and you had things going on like MJ-12 and
Yeah,
the Men in Black. I
yeah.
mean, there was the law enforcement
So
agencies within the agencies trying to
yeah,
do
there was
anything to
there was a
cover it
lot
over.
going on, and here's another thing that a lot of people may not like this, but it's simply a fact. What happened is in the past. Yes, it was horrible. Yes, there was terrible things done to keep this suppressed, but we are going to have to be a forgiving humanity. We have to learn from our past. A lot of those people that made those decisions are no longer with us. And now we're just all like living out that structure that was designed for us. But we have to change. It's time to change. And we need the truths. We need to know these things. But with that being said, we're also going to have to accept that these things were done. And we're going to have to forgive our government or whoever, be a forgiving humanity to our world governments for whatever decisions they made or whatever they did, good or bad. And it was probably a lot of bad from what I've been told. It's a lot of bad.
Yeah.
But we are going to have to continue on with our positive attitude, learn from these mistakes, and make sure we never make them again.
Yeah, I think a lot of humanity would agree to it as long as something happened overnight to change in the direction with 100% positivity, where it was um, on the table, done, and it had the world's transparency to every part of it. People would accept that.
Yeah.
But it's hard when you have people who have lost children in wars, when you know that it's all been part of a bigger plan and a bigger reason. And a lot of people, it's going to be hard for them to swallow that pill to say, I'm going to forgive and get, and I lost a child or two child. I mean, right
Yeah.
now we have bombing
Yeah.
going on, and not political, but people are losing life again. And that's just, it's sad. So that's going to be the hard convincer that people
Well,
like you and I are going to have to face at times, to just say, keep moving forth, because the future is going to, what is going to be what makes the difference, not, as you said, not the past.
well, and here's the other thing. Disclosure is wonderful for us, but disclosure is not wonderful for a lot of people who their whole lives are about to change. Everything that they ever believed in, everything they ever thought from generations up that their families have taught them. There's going to be people that simply become shell shocked and fall apart. We need to be ready, in our mental health, and our doctors, physicians all need to be ready. And all of us need to be ready to help humanity for the people that their
Yeah.
life is going to change, not overnight, but they're going to learn things that is really going to shake the very being, the soul of their beings. And we have to be ready, and things need to be set up and in place to help people, educate
Right.
the mental therapists, educate physicians about what it's like to be an experiencer or an abductee or a person that their whole root beliefs are about to change. We need to be ready and have people ready for this. So
Okay.
that's the next thing with disclosure that I think is important.
Right. I have an internal question from me, and maybe
Okay.
you can help me, but if not, maybe you can ask them. We all have things that occur in our life. We all sleep different, not sleep paralysis type things, and where you wake up, you can't move. I personally never gone through anything like that, but I've always in my life experienced this 3 o'clock thing. Boom. It's like somebody wants me to wake up. My dreams have become more vivid over the years. As I don't know. To me, I sometimes question mortality, saying, is this part of the faculty of what everyone goes through and may not always mention, that memories somehow start to come through more? Like the other night, I had a dream and there was a young lady in it, and I knew who's in this life. I don't know who this woman it was, but in that life, in that moment where I was, it tied into now with present and certain people, but also tied into like a duality of a different, a world next to a world somehow that I was visiting within in that moment. And this young lady come up to me, and I could feel that frequency of energy. There was a love automatically there. And I
Yeah.
didn't know why, but I realized it was all reality. It was real. And
Yeah.
sometimes I used to say in a dream state, and I take this back now from because I experienced this. I used to say
Mhm.
dreaming, what to me was like, part of what the afterlife may be, like a dream state, because dream state's not scary.
No.
It's you shouldn't fear it. It's as alive as we are, but in a different with a different type of level of reality. And but I learned the other night I shouldn't weigh judgment and my theory in that place any longer just because of how this person greeted me and the warmth I felt from it, the love that I got from her. I didn't know who she was, but I knew her. I
Yeah.
knew in my head at the same time, it was the best thing that happened in that moment, but I didn't know her, but I did know her because of the feelings. It was the strangest thing. And I deal with that. But my whole life, it's always been like, oh my God, between 3 and 3:30, it's like, and a couple times, I swear I woke up like it was what you get, where you hear it,
Yeah.
like on the wall, boom, 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 like, and I'm like, what the heck, But it
Yeah.
wasn't that I heard it the wall. I didn't hear the wall. I heard it like somebody wanted me to wake up, and it was like download complete. And the next day, I knew what I was going to do. I knew how to fix it, and I go back out and I just keep rolling. I touch things I never experienced before, and I complete them. Just weirdness.
I think well, I know we all have experiences. It's just that we don't realize it. And a lot of it we brush off. And I know that during our dream state is the best time for them to approach us because we don't have all the barriers around us. And I think they're very real. And and we all have these things happen, but it's like you said, a lot of you know that it keeps happening, so it has to mean something,
Right.
especially if it's repetitious. And I wake up a lot at 3:30, something like that myself. And a lot of times I've noticed, like what you called the tap tap tap, I've heard click click click, and a lot of times, a lot of people don't know this, but the grays are telepathic. But I sometimes with themselves, I've heard them, they make like a clicking noise, communicate like, and I've
Yeah.
even heard them like on, like a ham radio. I've heard them like doing that kind of stuff. And sometimes I'll wake up and I'll hear them doing that. And it's like they're finishing up with me. So, it's not the knock, but it's like clicking type noise. So yeah, those things happen big time.
Yeah, it's wild. I know it happens to me. I guess I'm gonna have to deal with
I
it to
think it's
be.
happening to everybody. I think it
Oh,
happens to everybody. It's just people just brush it off,
yeah, and maybe someone they don't want to talk about their personal side of their life that way, and I respect that. But I think the more honest we are with each other, and those types of manners of
Mhm.
speech, don't be shy. I mean, talk about it to your family, talk about it to your friends. Come on a show and talk about it to the world because, like you just
Other
said,
people are having these things happen too. Yeah.
yeah, and it can't all be coincidence that way, right?
No, and it's going to happen more and more because we are reaching higher consciousness. We are waking up. And that's why I say we need to have like group therapies for people to talk, have things set up because people will need people to communicate with, and sometimes your partner doesn't want to hear what you have to say, but you still
Right.
need to have somebody to talk to and
Yeah,
communicate
exactly.
with.
All right. So, is there anywhere else you'd like to take us before we do some type of ending to this? Because we can't go on forever. You know that.
I can
Um,
talk forever.
oh, I can too, and there's no rush here. it's all very, very interesting, and
Yeah, I
we're just
love it.
weighing the evidence and understanding things, and you're bringing a lot of things to light. One of the
Yeah.
things I'm stuck with is I can't get out of my head the fact that the possibility that we are out amongst the stars somehow due to other technologies. So, did they ever share with you that we are holding some type of technology, that we actually have something in our hands or have
I
had?
think I think we are the technology. We are the something special. We are the unique thing. We're just now discovering all the things about us and
Okay.
discovering who we are and what we are capable of. And I think that it's going to be very exciting ahead of us. And I'm not saying overnight, but I think that us realizing who we are and all of these DNA activations start happening and our abilities start to become higher frequencies, and all these negative old ways are going to be of no longer importance or no need for. We will simply evolve past it and will not need any of those negative things ever again.
Yeah. I mean, I think we all lived a simpler life once upon a time, and then
Yeah, and you know what? We know all this.
yeah,
It's just we were placed in an environment where we forgot a lot of the things we already know. These things. That's what they always say to me. You already know. I think we all already know. We just have to look within and pull it out and realize who we are.
and
Yeah.
that's where faith comes in a way. Not that I'm pointing fingers in any direction of a religion, because I'm not. I just that word is here in our language for some particular reason, and
Yeah.
maybe a lot of reasons, and maybe we just need to use it.
I think it is realizing our self-worth, our self-love, realizing our uniqueness of who we are and being at one with ourself and with everyone else in the universe, and realizing that we're all connected, and we are all energy beings. Nobody's better than one another. We are all the same. When you take off these human costumes, we are energy beings and we are all alike.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I want to reflect back, because with everything talked about and so much that you've shared this evening, um, this is almost back at the beginning of the program, I think, but the thought just came into my mind. I want to just understand the clarity of it, where when you were on vacation and you had to deal with the grays, the small grays, and interacting with your children. Um, have they had any other visitations, or are they still having continue? Are they good? Are they bad? Where's that at?
Oh, it's all good. We are all from like the same positive extraterrestrials and interdimensionals. They are all loving and benevolent, and they're all teaching us things to help us to assist. But the one thing about grays that people don't realize, there's many different races, and every race has in other words, one race, every race, they all have the same function. Like one race, they may all be explorers. Another race, they may all be scientists. Another race, they may all be geneticists or whatever. So whoever the three that came for my children when they were young, they were all the same function. They were all doing the same task, and that was not the task that I was no longer needed for. They were separate and doing different things. So I was not allowed to be a part of that. And the way that I look at that now is that knowing that they all do different things, they did me a favor by letting me see. They could have easily done it without me seeing, but they wanted me to know that this wasn't just about me. It was about my family. So they did me a favor. And also the fact that they won't take me when they take my son. Like my son and I just came back in September from a trip in Mexico that the interdimensional orchestrated because they wanted us to meet an indigenous tribe and they wanted us to walk in the forest and understand that everything is alive and is an energy being, etc. But they basically they just want us to learn all these things and accept that we're not alone in the universe and we've never been alone and we've always had a connection with things. So I don't know. There's so much to go into and talk about. I could never even do this all in one talk. But they still have face to face, and they have the same interactions that I have. The oldest one has just like I do, and he gets downloads. The younger one, he's not into it like the oldest one that I am, and that's fine. Everybody has to do this at their own pace. We don't force anything. It's like it's a lot to digest and a lot to absorb mentally and emotionally, and when we have to function as human beings as well as being contactees. So whatever, I just let my kids do as they're ready, and my son is finally to the point now where he has all the full contact, and the oldest one has all the same things happening that I do, and he has downloads and all the stuff. Yeah.
That's really interesting. Sometimes I feel that's what I get. I just don't know where they come from. I just know I know things that I shouldn't. And I've always been able to experience happenings like that. So somebody has some type of something going on looking out for me.
And that's what was hard for me, is because of when you get a download and stuff, it's not the sound of somebody else. It's your brain, your download. You hear it with your mind and you don't hear it in a different voice. So for me, it was always hard to say, well, did I think that? Or did they send that to me? Or did I think that? So it took me a while to understand that the information is there and it doesn't have to sound like it's coming from somebody else. It's there because it's been released from my subconscious into my conscious mind. So so that's natural. But I will say this too, just so you know, like when the female gray, when she comes to get me and I'm like in this room or in a bedroom or wherever, and I'm conscious, when she's telepathically talking to me, I hear it in my mind, but it does not have a male or a female sound to it. And it does not have any inflection in her voice. But I do know that she is a female and that I'm bonded with her and think of her and love her like a mother, or like she's not my mother, but I love her and I have a bond with her, which is unusual and hard to explain because it's not like my real mother, but it's a motherly love because she's been with me since I was born. Because they've revealed to me that and showed me myself being born and coming into the human world, and that I wouldn't remember things, and that later in life I would. But basically, so I know, but when I get on craft and the tall grays and the interdimensionals are talking to me, I can tell immediately by their voice whether it's female or male, and I can always also there is inflection in the telepathic communication. In other words, if they want to be a bit humorous, they can say, "Open wide, but not so wide to break your jaw," or something. I can definitely tell male, female, and I can sense inflection by the tone on whether it's playful or whether it's serious or if that makes any sense to you.
Yeah.
But with the hybrid gray, when she's here and I cannot, it's just, I hear her, but it's just like a command in my head. It's not like, I don't sense any sound or inflection.
Okay. You say it, she quite often, many times, has held your hand. So
yes.
Are they every bit as physical as we are once you're within their frequency?
Yes. I when I was in Mexico, I was standing there and I looked around and she grabbed my hand and I looked at her and I started touching her and doing my fingers between hers. And then it was very cold. We were up in the mountains. It took us 3 hours to get up to these mountains. And she was very ice cold. And I looked at her and I said, "You're cold." And she didn't say, she looked at me, but she didn't say anything. They're not uh, emotional beings. They're more task oriented, just like what I was describing, the negative. They are the same way. They don't show a lot of emotion. They don't smile and they don't move their mouths and they don't do the click clacking to me. But I've actually been on like doing a podcast like this. And as a matter of fact, one night I was doing a podcast and I was becoming very feverish and very sick. And all of a sudden they came over on the broadcast and I could hear it.
And you asked them, are you hearing that too?
No, I just waited for people to say something about it. And I did not, because a lot of times people may or may not hear it or understand what it was. And it was for me to hear. And what it was is they were giving me warnings. And when I got off of that podcast, they told me go to the emergency room, and I went to the emergency room and ended up staying in the hospital for 4 days. I had a urinary tract infection, and I was becoming septic, which is not good. I was becoming septic, and I had to be like IV'd and put in the hospital. And they told me telepathically, hospital. And they were trying to get me to go on and quit doing the podcast. And they were like right. Making sure I knew that they were there and that they were the ones trying to tell me to get up and go to the hospital. And I did get up and go to the hospital, and they kept me there for 4 days. I was right on the verge of being septic, which is bad news. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be.
Yeah.
Wow. That's really interesting. It's really,
one of the people that were on the podcast tried to get in touch with me, said they had something to talk to me about, but then we never connected after that. So I don't know if they heard something or not. I still don't know. I haven't asked them.
Yeah.
They're not on my buddy list. So, I was just kind of waiting to see if they said anything, because in my experiences, it's better to let somebody else bring up something like that than for you. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah.
One thing that I wanted to ask you is, this reflects to what some other people have talked about, and I don't know, that may not happen to everybody. Upon receiving like downloads or sometimes thoughts, getting pictures in your mind out of the blue, like where your thoughts just completely change, and within that thought of change, you are able in your third eye to actually visualize something or think of somebody in a different way. Have you ever experienced anything like that from them? And if you did you have any type of headaches or pressures on your mind or internal in your mind that you could feel that was different from it when it was occurring?
Absolutely. Yeah. Stuff like that happens all the time. It's really strange, because sometimes I feel like my night life is more exciting than my day life.
I know. I'm like,
I'm serious. And sometimes I wake up and I'm exhausted, and I'm like, I have slept for over 8 hours. How can I be exhausted? But then I think about what all I was doing in my dream state, and I'm like, how am I able to function? But somehow they're able to make these things all happen, and they orchestrate all these things. Sometimes I think we are like, I don't know how they do it, but they can do it. They absolutely can.
Yeah, they can play with our minds somehow. Something's doing it. I know to me, I've heard from many other people where they're saying it. That's why I'm trying to reach out more with the international site hotline, because some of the people that are doing this are getting up in age. And I just want to give a helpful hand where I can, because people already contact me with stories and so forth. I'm in Pennsylvania, and I've been hearing stuff for a long time, and doing podcasts you hear, and I think it's informative information, and it's a way for us to continue disclosure by getting stories out there, people's
Well,
stories out there, and experiences.
we are all here on a mission, and it's in one way, in some way, it's all about helping humanity evolve into our new creation of being better humans. So we're all playing a part and waking up and realizing our role in this, I think. So I think that's what you're doing, is you're learning your role, and now you're wanting to complete it, because you probably made an agreement to do this too.
Yeah, and probably, I don't know, that I've had some psychics on, some mediums, and tarot card readers in the day. I don't know. I
Mhm.
know there's rule books, and certain cards mean certain things, and how they turn up is what you're supposed to tell the person the meaning of the card means, and that it may have implications on their life and stuff. It's pretty bizarre and out there. But one thought that I always have had, and something that I thought we have always had knowledge about, was consciousness at birth and when it occurs. And as you knowing that you made an agreement to come here to do this, are we? And it seems like there's a fact, the truth behind it. We've all made some type of agreement in this recycle program where we have so many lessons to learn. Is that part of the whole system as well, in your mind, of what you've learned from them?
Yes, yes. When we cease to exist, our soul and our consciousness move up to creator source in our energy beings. And, in other words, when we die, our consciousness and our soul are not in an organ. They're out kind of outside up here, whatever. And we go up there, and then we go before like the elders of the council, and the decisions are made on whether we have completed all of our spiritual paths, spiritual evolution here as a human being. And if we have not, we'll come back and do it again. Or if it's an agreement with ourself and council, then we can become a dolphin or an animal, or we could become an extraterrestrial, or go to a different galaxy or whatever. And at some point, if you feel like that you've had all these experiences, spiritual, physical experiences, when you reach to that level, you can stay in your etheric, non-physical being, and just reside up in the highest, I guess, dimension, which is right up there around creator source, and you can stay there forever. And then, at times you can come back and try other things at different times, so.
Yeah, now that's, I think, part of a fear factor. Like you said, you've made peace with the fact of dying. You have family. You know that you can come home. They've told you can come
Yes.
home. Um, a lot of people fear that. I think, and maybe I do in a way too, where you go in front of a council of this,
Well,
and your life's put out in front of you in some way. I think people kind of fear that, to say
well,
that.
that's because they did that intentionally. All that is done intentionally. There is no hell. There is no such thing as a hell. And when you go before, yeah, a life review, and decisions are made, but you're not going to be punished. It's an experience. We all have experiences, and the true creator source is not a unkind or mean person. And all those things that you saw in the Bible where the God was punishing and all these things, those were man's interpretations of that time. And they were designed to instill fear and separation in humanity. So in reality, the creator source is a loving, kind, understanding, and knows we're here having a human experience. And part of being a human is making mistakes.
Yeah, I would
That's
agree
part of
with
being
that.
human.
Yeah, I
And
would agree with you.
and as long as we're learning from these mistakes, and then if we decide to come back being a better person, I'm sure they work those things out. And as we evolve, we become better. That's part of the evolution of spiritual evolution, is outgrowing negative, outgrowing evil, outgrowing misinformation and all these things.
Yeah, and there's been a lot of misinformation. I often question a lot of things when it comes to what I learn, how it circles back to many of the objectives of, as you call it, the dumbed down effect, and I call
Mhm.
it the defects of the world, the system of the world. Because again, it seems that there's that the other side of the scenario that we talk about has all the worst scenarios to hurt us and control us. And they devised every method to be able to do it, from telling you that if you give so much money and you belong to us and you come to our church and you worship with us, we will guarantee your gates into heaven. And, it truly is just, in my mind, a form of a mechanism. And it's shameful.
Manipulation. Yeah.
Yeah, that's that part of everything that we have learned and learned to accept. I mean, not, I wouldn't say that we willingly did, but as you said, and many have said, it's the implant of the information and how strong the technology of manipulation is. And
Yeah.
sometimes
It's
it's
been
just,
going on for eons.
yes, it's the power of
It's not
words.
our fault. you know,
I've,
like,
I've always said that it's the power of words is what we need to fear. They create everything. They
mhm.
created everything we look at, and from laws to permits. And you always got to ask for permission. And we live in a society where we depend on people to do something on the good side, the side that we are all searching for to come back to
Yeah.
evolve into, and they just further the system over all these millennials of years to compromise us in that position. Let me ask you a question. Were you ever made aware of what this highest platform could be, to
There
what
is no end.
it's
There is
everything?
no end.
And that's hard to comprehend. It's everything when you get there. So maybe this consciousness that we become and that they control, they give you the freedom to be where everything is possible and anything is possible. It's almost unimaginable of what an experience of that would feel like. Where
It is. It is. And that's having the human experience is the hardest experience of any creatures in the universe, and it's the shortest experience. And that's another thing they want to help us with, is to change that. They can help us with the longevity of the human experience and a disease-free experience and a poverty-free experience. So the future generations of the human experience will be very, very different, and will be one where you actually will enjoy every aspect, from birth to being a young senior to an old, senior citizen, enjoyment and love of life and connection with all things in one. It will be beautiful. So, but
again,
again, it won't happen overnight, but that's where we are headed.
yeah, it's almost like see the real Disney World and enjoy it. Go to the other side of the earth that you never knew was there and see
Well,
it.
we're
The
looking at freedom for the very first time in our
but it's
lives. That's what it
but it's a
boils down.
universal. It's so
Unity,
magnificent and so
unity.
huge.
We're looking at unity and freedom and connection and oneness, and a connection with the cosmic realm.
And this is what they have taught you.
Yes,
Exactly what you were representing in all our conversation tonight.
yes,
Outstanding.
absolutely.
Outstanding. Outstanding. I mean, that would be most likely a place everyone would want to go to.
Well, like I said, this is not about me. This is about all of us. This is about all of us becoming who we're, our future selves. Yeah.
I
It's,
love it. I love it. It's so much to fathom when you look at the magnificence of the
Mhm.
extraordinance of imagining what that
Well,
experience would
there's so
be like.
many beautiful things. When you look at a shell, the shape of it,
Mhm.
what do you call it? The Fananichi or whatever that word is. But all these things, so many plants, so many animals, so many things have like these intelligent designs. Everything was so intelligent. Our human body is such an intelligent design. It's all beautiful. It's all beautiful and done with intelligence. And it was created to be this beautiful thing. And unfortunately, we got taken advantage of at early stages of evolution.
Right.
But we are here now, and we're going to finally benefit the real freedoms of being who we are.
Right.
I can see
However,
it happening.
right. I would agree. However, it all happened really doesn't matter, even though we have that
We have to
human
forget that
instinct
and forgive.
to want to know. I think we're all gonna, weight that balance scale a little bit. But
Exactly. Just like for me, I've had many bad things happen, but the way that I look at it, it all had to happen for me to be who I am today, to be the me, the real me, the me that knows who the real me is.
mm-hmm.
Everything in life is not perfect, and we have to go through bad, and we have to understand all these things to become who we truly are. So that's why we have to realize that humanity had to go through all this and not put, we have to move forward and realize that humanity had to experience these things to become the humanity that we are going to become.
and
Same
I'm
difference.
and I'm sure they gave you some educational information to
Yeah.
some small degree that helps you even reflect on that better.
Oh, I see it perfectly. I know other people think, oh, that's never going to happen. But you create your own reality. So if you
Yeah.
think it's never going to happen, the reality is it's just going to take you longer to wake up, because we're all going to, because everybody else around you in the neighborhood is going to. So you're going to eventually have to wake up and smell the roses, so to speak. It
Yeah.
might not be as fast as your neighbor, but at some point you're going to have to,
Right. And maybe the true lucky ones are the ones that are ahead of us that got the head start to go there already.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, and people will weigh on that and say, "Well, I don't know," because
Yeah.
even for me, as bad as what we have to deal with at times in life, just every day, and little argumentative things that happen at the dinner tables, and put the cell phone down, quit using that thing at the dinner table. All these little things really mean nothing when you look at the broader picture of everything. But
Yeah.
they're
That's what you
upon
have to
us.
do.
Yeah,
You have
they're
to look at
upon
the
us.
big picture, not the little picture. Look at the big scheme of things. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's
I'm
important.
we're gonna have to think really positive for everybody, because as we continue, because I want to continue, I'm gonna hope for better to happen, and hope that I get to witness mankind come through this evolutionary change.
Yeah. And this is the
I'm
greatest
looking for
time to
that
ever be
positive day
alive.
of future.
Yeah. We have so many possibilities. It's exciting. It's very exciting.
It
Yeah.
surely is. It surely is. Well, it is getting a little late though. We've been on
Amazing
for
time.
2 hours and 10 minutes, and we had about 10 minutes prior to it. I've had
Yeah.
a very enjoyable time with you. And again, I
Well,
want to
thank
thank you.
you.
I
I
know
enjoy
you're
it too.
listen, I know your phone's ringing off the hook and you're getting emails, and it's hard to let anybody down. And your mission is to reach out and share the information. You have a mission. I get it. And I think you're accomplishing it. I'm seeing it. I'm seeing you everywhere. So, you're doing something. People want to hear your voice. They want to know what you know. And that's that instinctive, as I said to you, that's we're never going to get rid of it. And if we did lose focus of instinct, that humanness that we have, characteristic, I think that's one of the beautiful things that makes us all so different, that we can at least agree that we all have that part of us.
Yes. Yes.
And as we do, you're going to be more desired and more asked for and more shows. And would you like to share right now with whoever gets to see this in the next coming
Oh,
days, how
well,
they
I
can
mean,
get a hold of you? I know who you are. I'll help
yeah.
you out after the show to make some postings and do, and some have already
Thank
been going
you. I
on.
appreciate that. But yeah,
Tell
so
everybody who you
the website is timefordisclosure.com, and I have Facebook groups. That's Time for Disclosure / We Have Never Been Alone / We Are the Disclosure, because I truly believe all of us are. And I belong to almost every UFO group on Facebook, and I know that we all work together to have positive attitudes and work together, and we all want the betterment for humanity, and we all work together, and we're trying to all work as one, and be appreciative to each other's groups and stuff. So anywhere on there you can find a good group, and come in and check it out, put your toe in the pond, so to speak, and find good people with good experiences to share, and lots of information on knowledge and on knowing where there's like people that you can get together with and have communication and contacts with and share these group meetings and things. So yeah, there's lots of great information on there.
Yeah.
So
well, you make sure you join and stay an active participant, because nothing hurts my feelings more is when we have huge numbers, but we have nobody helping out the group administrators. We need your help. We really all do. So stay active in your groups, because if you truly want to know and you truly want to get the best resources that you can, we're going to offer them to you. I have American Disclosing group. I also have a paranormal conspiracy and cryptic group. If you want to be in any of them, please welcome yourself to be in. Last and final question. Have they ever shared, or look, this is something that's so huge in the public domain right now. And I do entertain platforms where I try to extend the best I can the courtesy to have people on that are experiencers. And there's many different things people experience: ghostly encounters, shadow figures, dog man, Bigfoot, things like that. Have you ever learned of any connection between them being part of the elite family from up above?
I have seen a Bigfoot. I have seen a ghost, and I have been on a exploration extraterrestrial group that were looking for creatures that were in the wrong place, meaning they either jumped a dimension or they simply were at the wrong place, and they were creating havoc and fear. And they did not like for humanity or wherever we went. Sometimes it wasn't necessarily here on Earth, but other places where it was creating problems. And they would go and collect these creatures. And I didn't even know what the word cryptid mean, but they were cryptids, and they would collect them and then take them back to where they belong. So yes, those things are real, and they are part of not in the 3D world, but they come into our world and we see them. So yeah, I'm very familiar with all that too.
And your friends remove them and replace them.
Yes.
Like when we
back to where they belong.
Right. Like when we get an alligator going down a city street, we collect, gather, and take them to a safe place and release.
Exactly.
Wow. That's a very interesting theoretical statement. But you know what? We got to put everything on the table here. That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, we can always have another show, and we can talk about more. I can talk more about all these different little experiences, little trips and things. So yeah.
Yeah, and I'd like to share with you some of what my encounters unintentionally but intentionally, and they came to visit me. So I'm just going to leave that part at that, because a lot of the people in the audience know the story. But nevertheless, I've had a fascinating time with you. You're a very enjoyable young lady to talk to. And I'm glad we didn't get into how old you are. I like to stay away from questions like that. But would you?
I'm 63 years old. Yeah.
Well, you're younger than me.
I'm a young senior.
You're young. You're a younger senior than me. But you're beautiful inside and out. And I thank you for coming on. I hope you enjoyed. A lot of people say, "Oh, Mike talks too hard to people." I don't really talk hard to people. I like to have open discussions. You know. I mean, I could tell you, hey, come on, this is complete Q&A. Just answer yes or no. I mean, there are people out there like that, but that doesn't really help the scenario of us getting to know each other.
It doesn't make for an interesting conversation. Yeah.
It's not a conversation at that point. That's an interview. I love discussions. This is fun. So again, I thank you from the bottom of my heart for being on. We're going to make sure you get shared everything that we can control to get you shared into. And if you'd like to, please do. Get it out there the best you can. I know you have tons of videos.
I'll put it in all the groups until Facebook says That's enough.
Oh, yeah, I know. I know. Well, hey, that's the big machine technology where we have one up there that works different. It's a
Yeah. Yeah.
cosmic source of energy
Yeah.
of everything, and they are trying to create that an ANI robotic machine to dictate to us here. So that to me, that's part of the and the struggle, but we'll
Yes.
overcome it. And I'll look
Thank
forward to the
you.
next time we can possibly get together. I want to wish you a lot of luck and energy on your book
Thank
writing.
you.
And even if it
Yeah.
takes you another year, just do a magnificent job because you're helping humanity to understand things that are unanswered. So
Right. We deserve
incredible
better.
work, young
Thank
lady.
you. Thank
Incredible
you.
work. Thanks for coming in. We'll talk again soon, okay?
All right. Peace, everyone.
All right.
Bye.
Good night to you, dear. Wow, that was pretty incredible. And you guys are too. I mean, my God, you stayed around for the whole show. That was great. I just want to remind everybody I always got my coffee cup with me, but I always do. I drink a lot of coffee. And recently, I didn't make a deal with anybody. I will make no monetary things from this, but I love their product, and I talked to them, and they talked to me, and I said, look, I'd like to do something for you if I could help because I want to be a helpful person. So if you guys drink coffee, and this is an all-American company here that's dealing with this to make sure they import and export all the best products that they can. It's called Loaded Gun Coffee, and keep it loaded. It's all I can say. They take online orders. Look it up, and I have a post, and it's on my page. All I can say, it's about coffee. That's all, and you don't have to. I'm not, going to pull anybody's teeth, but it's a good product. It really is. Not all coffees are good. I got to tell you, I went to Aldi's, I don't know, a few weeks ago. You run short, you run out, you get something. Oh, it was so hard, dark, and I don't know, it was just hard. I mean, it was like, I don't want to call it shoe leather, but it was powerful tasting in a way that wasn't good. And I don't know, maybe that works for some people's taste, but it doesn't work for mine. And that's why I did that. I'm going online, I'm getting something, and I did, and I was like, wow, finally, really? I can deal with this every day. And so I contacted them. And the funny part is some people know who we are out here, which is pretty amazing. So there was that connection. And I'm going to help support them because they're trying to, make America better in a better way. It's an American company. I'm going to support our country. I support all people across the globe that are good. I support the good. Bottom line, there's a lot of things I never will. Also, I want to point out there, I'll be on Monday night with Gary White. He's another experiencer that is experiencing from a different culture from up in the cosmos, and he's going to be on with me. And then I have the Starseed girl that's coming up. I have one of Scott Walters from Unearth coming on. Friends, I believe his name's Bill. This is embarrassing right now. I can't think of it off the top of my head. But nevertheless, he's busy, but he's going to be coming in. We're going to be talking about certain Stonehenge things and stuff that investigation those guys have been doing. And again, this all has significant properties to it when it comes to the knowledge that I try to share out to everybody. I just don't do America in Crisis. I don't. And I don't want anybody to judge me for that because I can tell you right now, when I do shows like this, they go off the roof. When I do shows like that people are just tired of things. And I think there's a point to it all. It's a circle back mechanism. And I know people need to escape, and I know people have special interests. That's why people metal detect. That's why people go fishing. But we have things like human face fish, and I want to know more about what this is, what this species is. How did they get here? Did they have something to do with these extraterrestrials? Were they put here on purpose, like the octopus? I mean, it's theoretically you got to look at the mermaids. You got to look at everything. And that's what I try to do. So you're going to see me doing different things on different platforms of the shows. Everything I'm trying to reflect the format of the platform to have substance to what it reflects to. So if it's what's in the skies, it's about who can come on and talk about what, just like Nancy just talked about with me, with Mark Oley just talked about me, the 40-year impact of your Europe's Roswell. But there's other events that have happened all over the world where people wrote other books, and just other people who are scholars without educations like me who dive into this in a very deep way. There's a system of a coup that's out there. It's who you know if you want to step into the platform of the ladder, if you want to be a lecturer. And I don't really truly know if I would ever want to go out and lecture people. I mean, I lecture you guys enough on here and share my thoughts and ideas with you. And I hope that I bring good content across. That's all I can hope for. And I hope you respect me for that, because I respect you as human beings and people. Because we reach each other and the comments show it. You guys are doing your homework all the time. There's no doubt about it. So that's important to me. So there's a lot of good guests coming up. I'll be doing a lot of different topics. I have somebody on Dogman coming in under the paranormal conspiracies encrypted platform that I do. And then sometimes I just do America Disclosing. I know there's several platforms, but it's just kind of trying to find a title that fits suit to what they are. But, you know, Studio 10 Broadcasting, 10 o'clock talks, that is the format. That is the ownership platform of where this all comes from, whether it's America in Crisis, whatever. It all comes back to one studio, one place. It's just different subject matter on what I can find available. Not everybody will come on my show, is all I'm going to say, and nor will they invite me to their show. So, you know, you never know in life how far you can get unless you work hard at what you do to get to the next step of that phase. And fortunately, people are noticing that I'm trying to just be as honest as I can to deliver the best content and research that I can, as well as the information that a lot of us knew about. And I have something very important that I am going to do a political content show on. I hope you catch it. Because what I want you to understand about this next statement that I'm about to make, and I bring things out slow, and I've been called out on this, and deservingly so. People notice that I know more, and I just don't always say it all. And that's factual. Because what are you ready for? What will it do to the platform? Will it intensify me? Will it make it better for me? Will it kill me? How will people feel about it? Because look, if you talk religion, you're judged. If you talk, you're judged. If you talk, you're judged. I want to have freedom of speech and acceptance, the same as the next individual wants, but it's not out there like that. But the content that I'm going to give is the releasing of the names of the people who you think they are or not who they ever were or who they ever were, period. It's a double-edged sword on both sides. And they were the leaderships. And within America, the biggest names are not the names they were born with. And I'm just going to say that. And I think that's pretty fascinating when you get into that kind of a topic to learn who these people really are. The people at the top all have changed their names. They have all. Nikki Haley has changed her name, just as an example. It's not really her name, okay? So, I mean, when you look into these things, and how the narration of everything has gone from the bad side, why we should always keep the best we can, the idea that there's something better also fighting with us. You can call it light, dark, good, bad, ugly, black hats, white hats, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It doesn't matter. It still reflects the point in time of where we are and how we gravitate from this by staying strong. I think America is worth saving. I think what I do is worth saying and continuing to do. I hope you'll join me in the future upcoming shows and check them out and, you know, enjoy them. Also, I expect to be back on with Sean Kelly from Pittsburgh Paranormal. I went on his page the other day. What a rock star. All I seen were the shows I did with him. And I hope that's just a sign of love he's sending to me, because I send it back to him the best way I can. And I'm always happy to help him. And if you know anybody that has had an experience and they'd like to contact me, please tell them how to get in touch with me. You guys know who I am. If you share my content, give it hearts, thumbs up, whatever. Anytime you see it, I don't care what group you're in. If you see it, give it, because it stimulates it back to the top. And it takes me from a bottom feeder to a top feeder where people are seeing the information. With that said, I know it's been a long show. It was better than a Sugar Bowl. I'm talking about a collection of political football and money. And I didn't take a knee, and I'm not going to watch the teams who did. So with that said, I appreciate what everybody wants to do. And whoever supports the contents of the shows, thank you so much. Again, many thanks to the people who, when I broke open the show, that I sent out special thanks to, who supported me and influenced me in what I do, because they played a huge part in it. They made great impacts on what I do. So with that said, I hope you have a blessed night. Thanks everybody for coming in. Joe Fox, River Rose, your comments. I tried to post them all tonight. If I missed any, I apologize. I think I missed this one. My dreams are working on ET. Yeah, I did miss that one. How cool is that? Yeah, that would be really cool. And I think there are some private entities out there that don't have anything to do with government influence actually doing those same types of things. Although here's the thing I think that makes the most importance when it comes to big money, government suppression, the deep industrial military complex systems, and how it works. The reason they don't want to tell us a lot of it is because a lot of hands got to handle a lot of money. And they'd have to show where the money came from and why it didn't get where it was all supposed to go. And they'd be held accountable, which means we have to wait 50 to 70 years. I believe Mark just told me on the show the other day, 70 years, maybe over in the UK. I think it's 50 here, but who knows? It could be 100 now. They're not going to ever tell us anything until a generation of these people are dead and gone. So we have nothing that we can hold them accountable for, But that's part of the biggest problem. So the military kind of offsetted it to where they put it into the public's domain of research, and they got all these different companies like Westinghouse, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You know the big names, you know who they are, it's talked about on every show out there, where the money's gone, what's gone in place. And these people don't have to they're protected under a different scenario of law, just like Washington is now. So you get where I'm coming from. But if it was to be exposed on the level that it is, and you think that we're just $34 trillion, and no, it's much worse. It's much worse because they do things to make money different ways to even further influence it, to influence technology. And isn't it shameful that their true outlook for the citizens of the world are to be controlled by a God computer? That's where we're going. That doesn't mean I'm talking about the names that people hide behind because they change them. But that is factual as well. But imagine that, a God computer that is going to control, where they don't even have to look to judge us, run a government, whatever, file a suit, a litigation. AI technology will have it typed up and shipped to the judge's quarters. It'll be there without an attorney even interacting. So we're going to come into this part of the fabric of the world being quite different. Anyway, check me out next time. I hope you're there to join me. As I said, I'll be back on Monday night, and it will be another version of What's in the Skies. It seems where all the guests are right now with Mr. Gary White. He'll be given a little bit of a different type of information. Look forward to seeing you there. Have a great night, everybody.